Hello and welcome to the Okanagan Garden Report. It is about mid-March now and we're having incredibly warm weather here in the Okanagan. It's a beautiful day. It was just sunny a few minutes ago and I think it's about 14 degrees, 15 degrees out, so it's just absolutely gorgeous. A little scary, you know. At this time of year, we're way too early for this warm weather, so we hope we don't get hit with a hard frost at the end of the month here, but it is what it is and there's nothing we can do about it anyway, so there you go. But we're just in the garden here and we're having a look at some of the plants, and these are some perennials and plants that were cut back pretty hard in the fall, which is what you normally do. We always promote a strong fall cleanup so that in the springtime we don't actually have to come out here and walk through the garden, because when we walk in the garden there's all these good little guys shooting up and we don't want to step on them and destroy them. So especially plants like peonies and lilies, they're some of the ones that really need protection. But we can just have a quick look down here. There's a few plants. This is the this little guy just down here. This is Helenium Mardi Gras. It's one of the really good plants, and you can see it just starting to kind of make some movement. So he's just reaching a nice size here. This is about as big as I ever wanted to get. So next year I'm going to want to do some divisions on it. I'm just going to step back over here a little bit. This is a daylily that's shooting up. This particular one is a red color, and I'm not sure the name of it, but it's a good daylily, and it's also reaching about as big as I ever want it to get. So one thing I do as a gardener is I want to divide these things from time to time and reduce their size. So again, I'm going to just move back a little bit more here, and I'm showing you here a perennial that's getting quite large. This is a Rudbeckia goldsturm, and it's quite big. It's filling this whole area here. So it's getting too big and it's losing its vigor. So what we need to do is we need to divide it, and that means take pieces of it away to allow the more, let's say, juvenile or healthy pieces fill in and grow in. So right now I can see myself that right here is a little bit extra green growth here. So this front part is actually one of the healthiest parts of the whole plant. So I want to keep that part. So I either have two choices here. I'm going to either dig the whole thing up, rip out a small piece of really healthy plant and put it back into the center of the hole, put some nice soil around it. That's one option. Or the other option is I can just cut away pieces of the existing plant to sort of reposition it in its spot. And what I mean by that is that, you know, here's the plant, but I have a rose bush here and I have a barberry behind me. So I want to keep it sort of moving away from these plants. So I want to remove the back half of it. So in half, it's actually more than half. I want to actually remove 2/3 of any perennial that I'm dividing. So that's a real key important point there, that you're not just cutting it in half or whatever, but you're removing 2/3 of the plant. So again, that's perfect. I have some healthy growth out front here. It's getting a little bit away this way, a little bit away that way. So I'm moving it forward. So I'm going to keep this portion of the plant, but all of this will become waste. And it, you know, there's no point in keeping most perennials because there's just too many of them. It'll go into the compost and that's where it'll be. You know, if you did want to create some more repetition in your garden, you could move this around and say get more of the same plant, which I prefer to do rather than adding a bunch of new plants. I'd rather spread around some of the good ones that I have. And Rudbeckia goldsturm is that bright yellowy color, sort of school bus yellow, and it's really a shining star in the summertime. It's just such a blast of color. So having a bunch of these around is really quite nice. So I'm just going to move up and show you a little delicate guy up here. We can see him shooting through the ground here. And this is a little bleeding heart. And this guy, they don't look like much right now, but I've often mentioned about plants that are very delicate when they're shooting up. And this is one of them. You know, some people don't even recognize it as being a viable plant, but it actually is going to be a beautiful big bleeding heart. So again, this one is getting too close to these daylilies, so I either move the daylilies or move the bleeding heart. So I might do that this year. But it really is a beautiful plant, and bleeding hearts really give you a good bang for your buck because they last so long. They'll sometimes be blooming by the end of April and bloom right into June, even right to mid-June. So they're a pretty good plant. And when they start to go a little ratty in the summertime, just cut them right to the ground or down to say about 4 to 6 inches, and then they'll just shoot up again and they'll come right back. So that's a little bit about the garden today. Again, beautiful weather, and it looks like it's going to be an early spring. Let's keep our fingers crossed that we're not going to get a hard frost yet. So that's it for today. Thanks again for tuning in to the Okanagan Garden Report.